Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures, and welcome back to the shop. So this is our refrigerator, like every shop needs. And as you can see, this refrigerator has lots of stickers, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what's holding it up in the air. You know, it's not just floating here. It's actually standing on a thing, and this thing is a couple of bookshelves back to back, and as you can see, they're not looking so good. We come around this side, and it's really not looking so good. So we're going to go ahead and build a new stand to put it on. I like having it, off the ground. So we're going to build a new stand, and we're just going to use some of the wood we have laying around. No need to buy new stuff to do it. Scrap wood is good enough. Stick around. So like I mentioned, we're going to use scrap wood and things we have around the shop to make this out of, and I'll show you what wood we're looking at. So we have this wood. There's some plywood there, and a couple of nice looking 2x6s, and I say nice looking. These are not very old, but look at the quality of wood you get these days. Haven't even stored it outside, and it's splitting and bowing, but it's fine. We've also got this 2x4, and it's a long one. It's about 10 feet, and that should provide plenty of wood. And then outside, we've got some more junk wood. There's some more 2x4s and a couple of 2x6s, so we'll use these too. So we've already measured it, and we know it's about 20 inches wide. We'll measure it again because, it could be 20 inches, it could be 19, it could be 23. The memory's not that good these days, so we'll measure it again. We'll probably write it down. It's a good idea. Okay, so we're just going to do some drawing on here on our magic whiteboard, and that should work pretty good. And we're going to go ahead and get some measuring done. For that, we need a measuring tape. So let's see. The cabinets, it's just shy of 20 inches. Well, how wide is the fridge? Let's measure how wide the refrigerator is. Hello there. All right, so the refrigerator is 19 inches wide, okay. And including the door, it's only 20 inches deep, so that's good. Let's write that down. So, fridge is 19 inches wide by 20 inches deep, okay. And if you can't read that, I promise that's what that says. And, well, let's see how high it is. So currently, the top of the bookshelf, well, in the middle it says just under 31. Out here, it's 31 and a half. So we can make it anywhere between 30 inches. And I'm thinking we might go a little taller, just make it 36 inches tall. But we'll see how much wood we have left. But let's write down height down here. And we'll do 30 inches to 36 inches. Anywhere in between there, that'll be fine. How deep do I want our new stand to be? The bookshelves are 28 and a half. 2 feet is about right here. I'm kind of thinking that's all we want to do is 2 feet. Plus, the wood over here is... well, it's 48 inches, and that'll give us two top shelves. So we don't need 2 top shelves, but it'll give us a top shelf and a middle shelf or a bottom shelf, and it'll give us some shelves that we can put back in. So I think we're going to let's go 2 feet deep. So the way the dimensions, the size I think we're going to do this in is we're going to do the stand. We're going to do, I think let's just do an even 20 inches wide. And let's do 24 inches deep. And then the height, we already talked about somewhere between there and there. And that'll be fine. And that should allow us to put some shelves, and we'll probably measure, probably not. So this is some of our wood that we looked at a minute ago. These are some 2x6s. Yep. This is some scrap plywood that we may use somewhere. But this is our main plywood that we're going to use right here. And well, this is good plywood, but these edges can be a little rough. So I'm kind of wanting the edge to sit down inside of the plywood, so it would be kind of like, you know, kind of like that, where we've got this 2x6 edge or 2x4, whichever we use, around the plywood, and that's just to take away the sharpness of this plywood edge and make it a little safer, because I'm prone to run into things, is, you know, what I'm saying. So with that, and we want to stick to, keep to, that's what it was. I was trying to say stick and keep to at the same time. If we want to stick to and keep to those dimensions, well, this piece of wood is going to have to be just a hair smaller to accommodate for this. The other thing we have to watch out for is the feet on the fridge. We do want the feet to kind of sit on this, so we have to just make sure it's going to work. Okay, so we've gone through all of the materials that we have and then kind of what we need. So what we have is we have one piece of plywood that's 30 by 48, and then we have two smaller ones that are 16 by 24, and I really don't know if those are going to be useful. We have two 2x6s that are 38 inches long, and then two of them that are 48 inches long. We have two 2x4s that are 59 inches long. They're a little rough, but that's okay. And then we have one brand new 2x4 that's 10 feet or 120 inches long. So that's what we have. And then this is what we need. So for the top and the bottom shelf, we need two pieces of plywood at 19 by 24. Well, that one right there will take care of that, no problem. We might do a shelf in the middle somehow, but I'll figure that out at a later time. Legs, so 2x4 legs. At 30 inches height, we need 4. Well, 30 times 4 is 120. That is, you know, that's that. So we're good. The top, so surrounding the plywood on the top, 2x6s. We need 2 of them at 24 inches for the length, and 2 of them at 22 inches for the, you know, the width. And the reason why that's 22 instead of, you know, the 19 that we're going to cut the plywood to is that's because, you know, when you add the wood and it's going to make it wider. Trust me, they need to be 22. Just trust me. For the bottom, since we don't have any more 2x6s, we're going to use some of the 2x4s. We need 2 at 24 and 2 at 22. So the 2x6s, let's see, 24 inch by 2. Well, we've got 2 at 48, so that's one of those. 2 of them at 22. Now we can use the other one of those 2, that's 48 inches. That'll work too. For the bottom on the 2x4s, we need 2 that are 24 inches. We can get that from one of those. And then we need 2 that are 22 inches. We can get that from the other one of those. So it looks like we have just barely enough materials to make this, you know, to do it, is what I'm, you know. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. We're going to start measuring and cutting some wood. And well, if you remember from before, a video or 2 ago, I really love cutting wood. All right, so we've done some of the setup here, or I say we, like there's a mouse in my pocket, and there is not. So I've done some setup here, and we're gonna go ahead and cut the two 24-inch pieces of the 2x6. This is for around the top. And what I've done is I've just taken this piece of wood here, butted it up against the bottom, so that way they're even, drawn a line on it, put this clamp to hold them together, put a clamp here to hold it down to the table, and now I can cut this line, and they should be exactly the same, you know, more or less. I'm just going to cut it straight across, and then we'll measure for the 22-inch parts, and that'll be the top. And now I'm covered in sawdust, which, you know, I hate sawdust, so I'm going to go get a blower because I can't stand it. So these are done. And now these are next. There we are. And once again with the sawdust. This wood's got some warpages going on. Shocking considering it's scrap wood that's been stored outside for a few years. Okay. All right, so this is the long one, and we're going to make sure that it really is 120 inches. Yes, exactly 120 inches. Okay, so I know I said we needed 4 at 30 inches, but what we're actually going to do is make them like 29.5 inches because, well, the thickness of the blade, there isn't 4 30-inch pieces here, is what I'm saying. Okay. And that'll be okay because our plywood is 3/4 of an inch thick. It'll make the shelves, I don't know, taller than, it's fine. Well, that one cut right through a knot, so that's good. But I tell you, they are, besides being warped, very, very close. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's take these in and we'll get started, you know, making the stand frame. Okay, so now we're going to start actually upside down, so this will be the top side. And once again, we're going to use our Craig, you know, jig, but now we're going to set it for 1.5 inch, which is the thickness we have here. So we just adjust these little slider things. There's a little line on there, all the way to 1.5 inches. And then our drill bit has the collar, so we're going to adjust it to the 1.5 inch depth as well. Okay, now for this size wood, this is 1.5 inch wood. You know, you need a longer screw, and according to the chart that comes with the little jig, it says it needs a 2.5 inch screw. Well, I don't have any 2.5 inch Craig screws, but I do have these 2.5 inch construction screws. And, you know, these should work just fine. Well, I think this is going to work. Yeah. Well, that's made a nice joint there. I'm happy. Hey, I've had this bench quite a few years and I've never, ever thought to do this. Well, that's nifty. All right, that actually works. That's impressive. Okay, well, the camera, for whatever reason, turned off, but that's okay. It's more of the same. But now we're going to do the leg things, and for that, we've got 2x4s. These 2x4s with pieces of wood hanging off the end that like to stab me in the hand. That's nice. And these, quite simply, are just gonna go in there like that. However, we're not gonna set them all the way down. We're gonna leave them up just enough for our plywood to fit under. And like I said, our plywood's about 3/4 an inch. So we're gonna do about a 3/4 inch thing down here. Now we could go ahead and just cut our plywood and lay it down there. It's probably the smart thing to do. Normally I would just bypass on doing the smart thing, but I figure we should just go ahead and do the smart thing. So we'll just go outside and we'll cut on the plywood and get the right size here. Okay, now we have our tabletop insert. So we're gonna go ahead and drop this down in here. We're not gonna mount it just yet, but we've got it set in here. So now we can put in our legs. The legs are just gonna go in like this. Nothing too fancy here, and that's just fine. So we have a couple of options for mounting these in. Quite honestly, we could just clamp them and, run the screws through. It's probably what we should do because that's the easiest way to do it. So, wow, look at that 2x4. That's chewed up like somebody was gnawing on it, like that. That's fine. Well, that's mighty strong now. Is it straight up and down and square? Probably not, but that's okay. Again, we're just making stuff out of scrap wood, and we're not a carpenter. I'm not a carpenter. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and then come back to you. Hi, welcome back to what is officially the next day. Well, it got hot and oddly humid in the shop here, and for whatever reason, I just got a little tired. So decided to just hang it up for the evening and hit it again this morning. So got up this morning. I had myself my normal coffee, came out to the shop and got back to work. And after a while, realized that I was trying to make a video out of this. So I made progress just without you all watching. Let's go ahead and check in on that progress. So I finished all of the legs and made the base. We're going to go ahead and get the base attached to the legs and then just keep moving forward. And I know we did all the fun pocket hole stuff, but at this point on the bottom, we're not going to do that. We did that to make this together. These are just some old holes because, scrap wood. But for putting the legs on here, we're not going to bother with all the pocket hole stuff. We're just going to attach it normally. Ow. Ow. we go. One more screw there should be fine. Perfect. And we'll just do that around all the other four corners. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Now, I think we're done with the majority of this. We need to make a shelf for the bottom. We already have the shelf for the top, and it's recessed, so it'll sit flush with all of the, other scrap wood up here. So we just need to make a shelf that's going to fit the bottom. So I'm going to measure this real quick. We think we know the measurements, but they're probably not right. Okay, so from here, we're going to draw, again with the mouse in my pocket, I am going to draw lines on this piece of wood for cutting. And we'll just cut it with the saw. I need to find my pencil. Now, if any of you are watching to learn how to build stuff, I would recommend you don't watch this to learn how to build stuff. I'm only showing you what I'm doing, and I guarantee it's not the right method. It's just what I'm doing. And it's probably very wrong. But that should be all of our lines we need. Oh. Okay, let's take this back off. And there we go. We're just gonna, cut along these lines. We'll see how that does. Okay, well now I've got my piece cut. That's supposed to set in the bottom, and let's just see if it fits. Well, yes, the answer is yes, it fits, and it oddly fits better than the piece that's not got corners cut out of it for the top. So this is the way it kind of goes in here. Maybe instead of turning it upside down, we just I'm gonna have to stop saying we. Goodness. Anyway, instead of turning it upside down, maybe I do it like this. And what I was thinking is I would just put some kind of something, along the top here. A couple of bar clamps might do the trick. That way I can push the bottom against it and put some supports around it and call it good. Let's do that. There we go. Now that just gives us something to push that flat up against. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So now we'll just attach, some stuff on the bottom here. And I'm probably going to use, I've got some 1x2 up here. Probably going to use that, and we'll just cut it up in the lengths to go around it, and probably not even screw it. We'll probably just put some nails with the nail popper and see how that goes. But I think what I'll do is I'll turn this around so that way y'all can see kind of what I'm doing. Sure. Okay, so, now we've got some supports made for the bottom shelf, and we're just going to use a nail popper to go ahead and put those in. I don't remember which one goes where. These are longer, so they must go on the longer side. And they're just gonna, set in kind of like that. Nothing special, nothing fancy. And we're just gonna, set that in. Not like that, but, like that. That should do, Like I said, nothing fancy. Why make it pretty when you can make it ugly and strong? Nice. Let's put one there. Just for extra good measure. And let's see if we can do this upside down. We can. That should be plenty strong enough to hold this shelf in place. You know, we're not putting a ton of weight. The fridge isn't going on here, it's going on the top, and that's got much more support to it. Extra nails for no good reason. Okay, well, I think before we put the base on, I think let's put the top on first. Let's get that secured. We'll grab our bottom shelf and stick it in. That fills backwards. I realize that if everything was square, it wouldn't matter if it's backwards, but look, it matters because it's not square. But anyway, bottom shelf is in. Now we can just, use the nail popper and go ahead and pop that in. And there we go. That should be just perfect for our bottom shelf. So here's the question. Comment. We're going to say some words. We probably want another shelf here, but I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that with the materials that I currently have left. So I don't know if I'm going to bother with it today. But if I was to put a shelf here, I'm trying to figure out how I would do that. Probably 1x for support. Tack it in with the nail popper. Again, not a lot of weight going on the shelf that would go there if I do a thing. But I think for now, we're going to call this one done or good to go. And we need to go ahead and empty all the bookshelf shelves and get the refrigerator ready to set on here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, here we go. Well, we managed to go ahead and finish it, and let me show you, the finished thing. So here we go. Now, while you weren't looking, I went ahead and built that shelf right there, just because it seemed like the right thing to do. Just real simple, put some, 1x2s into the sides of the 2x4 legs, and then cut a piece of plywood to go there, and now we've got our shelf back. But there we go. Good, solid, foundation for our fridge. And let's not forget, we had all of these wonderful notes to go by. Well, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Again, you can take any of your scrap materials and make anything you want, even if you don't know what you're doing, kind of like me. If you wouldn't mind, give us the whole subsquare. Man, I cannot say the word subscribe on any video. Give us the whole subscribe, like, share, comment thing. It really helps. Not that long ago, we crossed the threshold into 300 subscribers, and we are well on our way. And I appreciate every one of you that is supporting the channel. In the meantime, we'll see you later. Too bad they don't make a robot that you can just clean up the mess around here.